Ladies and gentlemen, unshakable self-belief is not arrogance. It is not blind optimism. It is a deep, unshakable conviction that no matter what happens, you are capable of figuring it out, rising again, and continuing forward. This belief doesn't come from wishful thinking or affirmations alone. It is built over time through conscious effort, discipline, and experiences that test your limits. A mind that truly believes in itself is terrifying because it doesn't yield to doubt, doesn't require external validation, and can't be manipulated by fear or ridicule. To build this level of belief, you must first decide that your opinion of yourself will matter more than anyone else's. The world will throw judgments, criticism, and indifference at you. People will underestimate you, ignore your ideas, and sometimes hope for your failure. A strong mind takes all of this and uses it as fuel, not as reason to fold. It says, "You may not believe in me, but I do." And that belief becomes a force more powerful than any external resistance. A common trait among people with a terrifyingly strong mind is their ability to continue forward despite rejection, failure, or mockery. This isn't just perseverance. It's confidence built on evidence. They've taught themselves again and again that they can survive setbacks. Every time they fall and rise again, they're training their subconscious to believe, without hesitation, that failure is never final. Over time, this creates a mind that fears nothing because it has already faced the worst and kept going. Such belief also comes from doing hard things deliberately. If you want to build a strong body, you lift weights that challenge you. If you want a strong mind, you must do the mental equivalent. Pursue goals that stretch you, face fears directly, and resist the urge to quit when things become uncomfortable. Each time you choose growth over comfort, your self-belief compounds. It tells your mind, "I can handle more than I thought." Do this often enough, and it becomes a core part of your identity. Another essential piece of this kind of belief is discipline. You can't trust yourself if you constantly break the promises you make to yourself. A strong mind is forged by consistency. If you say you'll wake up early, do it. If you commit to working out, do it. If you plan to start a business, write the plan and act on it. Each act of follow-through builds internal respect. Over time, this self-respect turns into self-belief. You believe in yourself because you've proven over and over that you do what you say. People with strong minds also speak to themselves differently. They do not entertain destructive self-talk. When a thought like "you're not good enough" appears, they challenge it immediately. They remind themselves of what they've overcome. They point to the effort they've made, the skills they've earned, the discipline they've shown. They rewrite the narrative constantly, not with delusion, but with truth and proof. Because if you don't take control of your inner voice, it will be hijacked by insecurity, fear, or the opinions of weaker minds. Silence is also a weapon of the strong. Those with deep self-belief don't feel the need to convince everyone around them. They don't need to post every move, explain every decision, or brag about every win. They trust that results speak louder than words, and they let their actions do the talking. This quiet confidence unnerves people because it suggests a level of certainty that doesn't need approval. It hints at something deeper, an internal world that is secure, focused, and impenetrable. Lastly, self-belief is a choice that must be renewed daily. No matter how strong your mind becomes, the world will test it. You will have days of doubt, fear, and fatigue, but on those days, the strength of your mind is revealed not in the absence of struggle, but in your response to it. Do you rise anyway? Do you recommit even when it's hard? Do you remind yourself of who you are and why you started? The strongest minds answer yes, and they move forward, quietly, relentlessly, and with terrifying resolve. A strong mind begins with a clear purpose. Without a specific direction, even the most intelligent mind will drift, become distracted, and eventually be consumed by trivial matters. But when your purpose is definite, When you know exactly what you want, your thoughts, energy, and time align like a laser. You no longer waste effort on things that do not move you forward. Every choice, every habit, every relationship is filtered through the lens of that purpose. It becomes your compass, and it gives your mind power that most people never experience. Clarity creates confidence. When your goal is vague, your actions will be hesitant, your motivation temporary, and your focus scattered. But when your purpose is sharp and vivid, hesitation disappears. You stop asking, "What should I do next?" and start taking decisive action. You stop questioning your path every time you hit resistance. You know where you're going, and even if the path is rough, you're grounded in certainty. This certainty is what gives your mind a terrifying strength. Because people don't know how to deal with someone who cannot be shaken from their mission, definiteness of purpose also simplifies life. The modern world is full of distractions, new opportunities, endless entertainment, opinions from every direction. Most people are pulled in 1,000 directions because they've never made a firm decision about what they truly want. But once you commit to a purpose, distractions lose their power. You stop chasing everything that looks good and focus only on what is essential. That singular focus is rare, and it intimidates people. When you carry yourself with that kind of clarity, it forces others to question their own wandering path, and that makes them uncomfortable. Purpose turns suffering into fuel. No path is free from struggle, but those without purpose are crushed by the weight of it. When they encounter pain, they retreat. When things don't go as planned, they question everything. But a strong mind with a clear purpose uses the same pain as a reason to grow. It says, "This is part of the process. This is what it takes." The hardship doesn't feel pointless. It feels necessary. That shift in meaning changes everything. It builds resilience, it builds patience, and it builds the kind of mental toughness that scares people who have never walked through fire with intention. Knowing your purpose also strengthens your identity. You stop being defined by what others expect of you. You stop seeking approval or applause. You stop living reactively. Instead, you choose your path consciously and walk it with pride. People may not understand your choices. They may criticize or doubt you, but that no longer matters, because your life is no longer guided by opinions. It's guided by your own decision to pursue something meaningful. That independence is power. A mind that doesn't rely on external permission is unstoppable. Another benefit of a definite purpose is that it breeds discipline. When you know what you want, the temptation to quit weakens. You are not working out just to look good. You are preparing your body to serve a mission. You are not reading just for fun. You are sharpening your mind for a goal. You are not waking up early just to be productive. You're giving yourself more hours to build what you believe in. This mindset doesn't need motivation. It's driven by vision, and that vision becomes your internal engine, pushing you forward even on the hardest days. Purpose also attracts the right kind of people and opportunities. When you're clear about where you're going, others can either support you or step aside. You no longer waste time with those who pull you off track. Instead, you build a circle of people who challenge you, support you, and align with your mission. A strong mind doesn't try to please everyone. It finds those who resonate with its purpose and ignores the rest. That level of selectivity protects your energy and strengthens your journey. Ultimately, definiteness of purpose gives your life meaning. It gives your mind something to fight for, something to build, something to protect. Without it, even the most gifted minds fall into boredom, anxiety, and confusion. But with it, you become a force of nature, deliberate, focused, and fiercely determined. People may not understand your intensity. They may question your obsession, but that's only because most have never experienced the strength that comes from knowing exactly what you're here to do. And when you move with that kind of clarity, you don't just inspire people, you unsettle them. Because deep down, they see a level of power they haven't yet found in themselves. To build a mind so strong it terrifies others, you must master your emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It means understanding them, controlling them, and choosing your responses rather than reacting impulsively. Emotional control is the dividing line between people who lead and people who follow, between those who crumble under pressure and those who rise above it. When your emotions rule you, you are a slave to circumstance. But when you rule your emotions, you become mentally untouchable. Strong minds are not emotionless. They are disciplined. They feel anger, frustration, fear, sadness, and doubt like everyone else, but they do not act blindly on those feelings. They pause, they breathe, they ask themselves, is this feeling useful right now? Does it help me or hurt me? That pause is power. That small space between stimulus and response is where mental dominance lives. Most people react without thinking, say things they regret, or make impulsive decisions that cost them dearly. But a disciplined mind moves with intent, not emotion. Anger, for example, is one of the most destructive emotions when left unchecked. It makes people say things they don't mean, destroy relationships, or lose opportunities. But in the hands of someone emotionally mature, anger becomes energy. It becomes fuel to take action, to fix what's broken, to assert boundaries, or to improve circumstances. Instead of erupting outward, it is directed inward with purpose. That's why emotional control doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. It turns volatility into strategy. Fear is another emotion that controls weak minds. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, these are mental cages. People avoid risks, stay silent, and shrink their lives to avoid these feelings. But fear is not meant to be obeyed, it's meant to be examined. A strong mind looks fear in the eye and asks, is this fear protecting me or limiting me? Most often, it's the latter, and once you see it clearly, you take action anyway. That defiance of fear terrifies others, because it reveals what they're too afraid to do themselves. Then there's doubt, the quiet killer of potential. Doubt creeps in during the moments you feel unsure, whispering lies that you're not good enough, not ready, not worthy. But doubt can only survive if you entertain it. A powerful mind does not entertain doubt as a guest. It throws it out like an intruder. It replaces doubt with data, reminders of progress, wins, experience, and effort. Emotionally undisciplined minds feed doubt with insecurity. Emotionally disciplined minds starve it with truth. Emotional mastery also affects how you handle external negativity. Criticism, insults, betrayal. These things will come, no matter how focused or kind you are. But the strong mind does not absorb every word or action from others. It observes, filters, and responds when necessary, but it never lets someone else's chaos dictate its own peace. This is unsettling to those who seek to provoke or manipulate. When they see that their tactics don't work on you, when they realize you won't lash out or break down, they lose control, and your calm becomes your shield. Even in success, emotions must be managed. Pride and ego can be just as dangerous as fear and doubt. They can make you overconfident, careless, or disconnected from reality. A truly strong mind remains grounded even in victory. It understands that emotions, even the positive ones, must be kept in balance. Celebrate, yes, acknowledge your progress, of course, but never let emotions blur your vision. The goal is mental clarity in every state, good or bad. That's what makes a mind consistent, reliable, and ultimately dominant. This kind of emotional discipline doesn't happen overnight. It is built the same way physical strength is, through repetition, through awareness, through testing yourself in real situations. You train your mind every time you choose to breathe instead of yell, to walk away instead of escalate, to stay focused instead of panic. Every time you maintain composure, You are rewiring your brain to associate calm with control. Eventually, it becomes automatic, and when it does, you'll notice that fewer things rattle you, fewer people get under your skin, and fewer setbacks derail your progress. In a world where emotional reactivity is the norm, composure becomes a form of power. People expect you to explode, to break down, to lash out, because that's what they do. When you don't, it confuses them. It intimidates them. It forces them to question their own reactions. And that's when you know your mind has reached a new level of strength, not because you're cold or detached, but because you've mastered the one thing most people never do: yourself. Mental strength is not built in the moments when everything is going smoothly. It is built in the trenches, when progress is slow, when results are delayed, when failure seems more likely than success. In those moments, most people quit. They change direction. They lower their standards. But the few who develop relentless focus and persistence do the opposite. They double down, they block out the noise, and they stay the course. This is the kind of mindset that makes others uncomfortable, because it reveals a level of endurance they've never experienced. Relentless focus is not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things over and over without losing sight of the goal. In a world filled with distractions, the ability to lock in on a single objective is rare. Most people live in a state of scattered attention, bouncing from one task to another, always starting and rarely finishing. But a mind trained for focus cuts through all of that. It knows what matters, and it commits its full energy to that one thing. That kind of focus is intimidating because it creates results that look almost unnatural to those who can't replicate it. Persistence is what keeps you moving forward when everything tells you to stop. When the excitement wears off, when progress is invisible, when setbacks multiply, that's when persistence becomes the dividing line between winners and everyone else. Most people associate strength with talent or intelligence, but persistence is the true test. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you give up halfway. It doesn't matter how much potential you have if you never stick with anything long enough to see it through. A persistent mind doesn't need perfect conditions. It builds while others wait. It endures while others quit. The key to both focus and persistence is purpose. When you are clear about what you want, quitting no longer feels like an option. The goal becomes non-negotiable. That doesn't mean you never adjust your methods, but your commitment to the outcome is absolute. This is where most people fall apart. They only commit when it's convenient. The moment things get uncomfortable, they back off. But a mind forged in discipline knows that comfort is irrelevant. It doesn't seek ease, it seeks progress, and progress almost always requires pain. Focused minds don't multitask. They understand that doing one thing well beats doing 10 things poorly. They don't chase trends or get distracted by what others are doing. They stay rooted in their path, even if it looks slower or less glamorous, because they know the truth. Mastery takes time. Real progress isn't flashy. It's quiet, repetitive, and often boring. But while others lose interest and look for something new, the focused mind is still grinding, still learning, still improving. And eventually, that consistent effort compounds into results that look impossible to everyone who quit early. Persistence also means showing up on the days you don't feel like it. Discipline doesn't care about motivation. Motivation is a mood, fleeting, unstable, unreliable, but discipline is a decision. Persistent minds make that decision daily, to keep going, to stick to the plan, to take the next step. They don't let temporary emotions override long-term goals. They know that showing up matters more than feeling inspired, and that mindset, repeated enough times, becomes a weapon. While others wait for the perfect moment, the persistent mind creates momentum by moving through every imperfect moment. A terrifyingly strong mind also develops tunnel vision in the best way possible. It doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means blocking out the distractions that don't serve the mission. It means saying no to things that look appealing but steal your energy. It means resisting the urge to compare yourself to others, because comparison is the enemy of focus, and distractions are the enemy of progress. The strong mind doesn't care what others are doing. It stays in its lane and runs its race with ruthless concentration. Persistence isn't glamorous. There's no applause for consistency. No one sees the hours of repetition, the nights you pushed through exhaustion, or the mornings you showed up tired but determined. But that's where strength is built. Not in the highlight reel, but in the grind. And when results finally appear, they don't come as surprises. They come as proof. Proof that you were willing to keep going when others stopped. Proof that your focus was sharper. Proof that your mind was stronger. In the end, focus and persistence are not just habits. They are identity. You become someone who finishes, someone who sees things through, someone who keeps showing up no matter what. And that kind of person, that kind of mind is rare. It stands out. It unsettles people who gave up on their own goals too early. And that is why it terrifies, because it is a quiet, consistent reminder of what relentless commitment can really do. The strongest minds in the world are not those that never think negative thoughts. They are the ones that have learned how to recognize them, challenge them, and redirect them. Thought control is one of the most vital and underrated mental disciplines. If you cannot control the thoughts that pass through your mind, then your mind is not your own. You are simply reacting to whatever the world throws at you: situations, opinions, setbacks, fears. But when you gain mastery over your thoughts, you regain ownership of your reality. That's when you become dangerous, because your perception is no longer shaped by randomness, but by intention. The average person lets their thoughts wander aimlessly. They wake up and immediately begin to consume news, social media, other people's drama. Their minds are hijacked before they've even had a chance to think for themselves. They go through the day reacting rather than creating, absorbing rather than filtering. A powerful mind does the opposite. It wakes up with awareness. It chooses what to focus on, what to allow in, what to reject. This ability to direct thought, deliberately, not emotionally, is what gives you the edge. Thoughts are not passive, they are seeds. Every thought you allow to take root will eventually grow into belief, and beliefs shape your actions, your decisions, and your future. If your thoughts are undisciplined, your beliefs will be weak, your confidence will waver, and your results will be inconsistent. But if your thoughts are sharp, focused, and chosen with care, then you begin to build a foundation of inner certainty that cannot be easily shaken. That's why the battle for the mind is fought at the level of thought. Win there, and you win everywhere else. You must become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves to be entertained. Not every fear deserves to be believed. A strong mind questions everything. Is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it aligned with who I'm becoming? If the answer is no, it gets discarded. This level of mental discipline is what separates the mentally strong from the mentally weak. Weak minds accept every thought as reality. Strong minds filter thoughts through intention and values. Thought control is not just about positivity. It's not about pretending everything is great when it's not. It's about choosing the most useful thoughts for the situation. If you're facing failure, the useful thought might not be, "This is fine," but rather, "This is hard, but I'll figure it out." It's choosing resilience over despair, growth over victimhood, strategy over panic. That kind of thinking doesn't come naturally. It must be trained. It is mental weightlifting. You catch yourself drifting, and you pull your thoughts back. Over and over, until the default mode of your mind is no longer weakness. It is strength. There is also enormous power in mental stillness. Most people are never alone with their thoughts without some form of distraction. But strong minds seek solitude to think deeply, to analyze, to strategize. They understand that clarity comes in silence. They don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. They value the internal over the external. That kind of calm mental state is rare, and it intimidates people who have never developed it. Because when you can sit quietly with your own thoughts and come out stronger, you become someone who doesn't need noise to feel powerful. You become self-generated. Thought control also means knowing how to protect your mental energy. Not every argument deserves your involvement. Not every criticism deserves your response. When you give your attention to things that don't serve your purpose, you dilute your focus and weaken your mind. But when you control your thoughts, you conserve your energy for what actually matters. You become efficient with your attention. You think in terms of outcomes, not emotions. This clarity allows you to make decisions faster, work longer, and recover quicker from setbacks. That's not just intelligence, that's dominance. Ultimately, controlling your thoughts is how you shape your future. Every major breakthrough, every significant transformation begins in the mind. Before the body acts, the mind imagines. Before the words are spoken, the thoughts are formed. If you do not take charge of your thinking, you are handing over control of your life to whatever voice is loudest around you. But when you decide that your thoughts are your responsibility and your power, everything changes. You no longer live at the mercy of doubt, distraction, or fear. You become the architect of your own mind, and by extension, your destiny. A person who controls their thoughts becomes unpredictable. They cannot be easily provoked, manipulated, or thrown off course. That's what makes them dangerous, not in a violent or chaotic sense, but in a disciplined, centered, and razor-sharp way. They are mentally bulletproof, and when others see that kind of control, it shakes them. Because most have never tasted that kind of power, and deep down they know it. A strong mind isn't measured by how it performs when everything is going right. It's revealed in how it responds when everything falls apart. Resilience is the ability to withstand the pressure, endure the pain, and continue moving forward when most people would break. It's not about avoiding struggle. It's about absorbing the blow and choosing to stand anyway. People with truly strong minds have been through setbacks, failures, heartbreaks, and losses, but they've refused to be defined by them. They don't just survive adversity, they are sharpened by it. Adversity is not the enemy. It's the fire that forges mental toughness. Every difficulty you face holds the potential to make you stronger, but that strength doesn't come automatically. It comes from your decision to respond, not with bitterness or defeat, but with focus and determination. Most people crumble under pressure because they see adversity as a punishment. A strong mind sees it as a test. It asks, "What is this trying to teach me? How can I grow through this?" That mindset flips the script. It turns every hardship into an opportunity to rise. When you develop resilience, you become dangerous, not because you're aggressive, but because you're unbreakable. People don't know what to do with someone who refuses to stay down. They expect you to quit, to complain, to collapse under stress. But when you keep showing up with focus in your eyes and resolve in your heart, it unsettles them. It reminds them of what they've given up on. It highlights their excuses. A resilient mind doesn't just survive adversity. It exposes weakness in others by comparison. Resilience is built in the moments you feel the urge to quit but don't. It's built when everything in your life feels heavy, but you show up anyway. It's built when no one believes in you, but you continue to believe in yourself. It's in those lonely hours, those silent struggles, those battles no one sees, where real mental strength is born. Resilience isn't loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't demand attention. It simply refuses to be defeated. Over time, that quiet refusal becomes a roar that others cannot ignore. A resilient mind understands that setbacks are part of the process. You can do everything right and still lose. You can prepare for months and still fall short. But failure is not final unless you choose to stop. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. It's not talent, luck, or timing. It's the ability to get up one more time, that one extra attempt, that decision not to surrender. Most people are one step away from a breakthrough when they quit. The resilient mind keeps walking. Adversity also teaches you who you are. When everything is stripped away, when there's no applause, no support, no recognition, who are you then? What do you stand for? What are you willing to endure for what you believe in? Resilience reveals character. It strips away ego and exposes truth. A strong mind doesn't rely on circumstances to feel powerful. It carries its own power from within, even when the world offers nothing. That inner strength, developed through pain, becomes unshakable. Resilient minds are also patient. They know that good things take time and great things take struggle. They don't expect instant gratification. They understand that growth is slow, success is earned, and endurance is part of the price. That patience is rare in a world that glorifies speed and convenience. But the strongest minds don't chase fast. They chase forever. They are willing to endure today's discomfort for tomorrow's strength. That long-term thinking gives them an edge that cannot be replicated by those who only want what's easy. Most importantly, resilience is a choice. You don't have to feel strong to be strong. You don't need to have all the answers to keep moving. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply refuse to give up. You make that decision day after day, and over time it becomes who you are. You become the person who doesn't break. The person who bends, adapts, heals, but never quits. That identity becomes part of your mental framework, and it stays with you for life. People often fear what they don't understand, and they don't understand how someone can keep going after losing everything, after being betrayed, after being told no again and again. But a resilient mind doesn't need validation. It doesn't need sympathy. It doesn't even need a perfect plan. It just needs that one small spark of belief, belief that this moment is not the end, that alone can fuel a comeback. That alone can keep the flame alive, and that flame, once protected and fed, becomes a wildfire that nothing can extinguish. That is the essence of resilience. It's the silent strength that builds when the world says you should give up. It's the mental armor forged in adversity. It's the refusal to let pain define you. And when you carry that kind of resilience, people don't just notice. They are shaken by it, because they realize they would have given up where you kept going. And that's what makes your mind terrifying, not in cruelty or force, but in its refusal to break.